10. Boggo Road Gaol, Queensland. Boggo Road Gaol, established in 1883, is one of Australia's most infamous prisons. Located in Brisbane, Queensland, it housed some of the country's most dangerous criminals, including murderers and escape artists. The prison was notorious for its overcrowding and inhumane conditions. Executions were carried out on site, with the last hanging taking place in 1913. The prison closed in 1992 and has since been preserved as a heritage site. Boggo Road Gaol is widely regarded as one of the most haunted places in Australia. Visitors and staff have reported numerous paranormal experiences over the years. The ghost of Slim Halliday, known as the Houdini of Boggo Road for his escape attempts, is said to haunt the prison. His ghostly figure has been spotted near the cells he once occupied. Another infamous spirit is that of Ernest Austin, the last man hanged in Queensland. His restless spirit is believed to roam the jail, with reports of his ghostly laughter echoing through the execution area. Tour guides and visitors have described sudden drops in temperature and an overwhelming sense of dread in the gallows room. The women's section of the jail is another area rife with paranormal activity. Visitors have claimed to hear the cries of former inmates and have seen ghostly figures dressed in 19th-century clothing. Poltergeist activity has also been reported, with objects moving on their own and unexplained banging noises. Paranormal investigators have recorded EVPs and captured shadowy apparitions on camera, further cementing the jail's reputation as a haunted hotspot. 9. Gladstone Gaol, South Australia. Gladstone Gaol, built in 1879, was designed as a high-security prison to house both male and female inmates. Located in South Australia, the jail operated until 1975, after which it was repurposed as a tourist attraction. The prison was notorious for its harsh treatment of inmates, many of whom were subjected to solitary confinement in dark, cramped cells. Throughout its operation, the jail witnessed numerous deaths due to illness, suicide, and violence. Its history is marked by stories of despair and suffering, leaving behind an air of mystery and foreboding. Gladstone Gaol is considered one of South Australia's most haunted locations. Visitors and staff have reported hearing footsteps in empty corridors, doors creaking open and closing on their own, and strange whispers. The solitary confinement cells are particularly eerie, with many experiencing a sense of dread and unease while inside. One of the most well-known ghosts is that of a former prisoner who hanged himself in his cell. His spirit is said to linger, with visitors claiming to see a shadowy figure and hear faint sobbing. Paranormal investigators have captured EVP recordings of voices and other unexplained sounds. The former women's wing is also a hotspot for activity. Visitors have reported seeing the apparition of a woman dressed in old-fashioned clothing, believed to be the ghost of a female inmate. Other encounters include sudden cold drafts and the sensation of being touched by unseen hands. 8. Toowoomba Gaol, Queensland. Toowoomba Gaol, built in 1864, was one of the earliest prisons in Queensland. It served as a place of incarceration for hardened criminals and petty offenders alike. Known for its grim conditions, the jail operated until 1903, when it was closed and eventually demolished. However, the foundations of the prison remain, and the site has become a hotspot for paranormal investigations. The site's history includes public executions, with gallows used to carry out death sentences. The harsh treatment of prisoners and the numerous deaths that occurred within its walls have contributed to its eerie reputation. Although the physical structure of Toowoomba Gaol is no longer standing, the site is still believed to be haunted. Locals and visitors have reported ghostly apparitions and strange phenomena. Shadowy figures are often seen near the former gallows site, where many executions took place. One chilling story involves the ghost of a prisoner who was wrongly executed. His restless spirit is said to haunt the area, with reports of disembodied whispers and a feeling of intense sadness. Paranormal investigators have recorded unexplained voices and cold spots during their visits. The site has also been associated with poltergeist activity. Objects have reportedly moved on their own, and visitors have felt sudden, inexplicable chills. The residual energy from the jail's dark history continues to draw those fascinated by the paranormal. 7. Maitland Gaol, New South Wales. Maitland Gaol, located in East Maitland, was opened in 1848 and served as one of Australia's most high-security prisons for over 150 years. Known for housing some of the country's most notorious criminals, including serial killers and gangsters, the jail was infamous for its harsh conditions. Inmates endured solitary confinement, brutal punishments, and overcrowded cells. The prison officially closed in 1998 and was later turned into a museum. Maitland Gaol has gained a reputation as one of the most haunted locations in New South Wales. Paranormal investigators and visitors have reported eerie occurrences, including footsteps echoing in empty hallways and cell doors slamming shut without explanation. Shadowy figures are often seen in the cells, and some visitors claim to feel an oppressive presence in certain areas. One of the most infamous ghosts is that of a former inmate who committed suicide in his cell. Visitors have reported hearing his cries echoing through the jail, especially at night. The exercise yard is also a hotspot for paranormal activity, with cold spots and whispers frequently reported. Tour guides have shared accounts of feeling watched while walking through the solitary confinement block, and some have even claimed to see a ghostly figure wearing prison garb. The jail's rich and grim history seems to have left an indelible mark, with many believing the spirits of former inmates still roam its halls. 6. Old Geelong Gaol, Victoria. Old Geelong Gaol, built in 1853, was designed to hold some of Victoria's most dangerous criminals. Its architecture reflected a grim and imposing environment, with small, cramped cells and limited sunlight. The prison operated until 1991, with a history of escapes, riots, and violent incidents. The jail was known for its inhumane treatment of prisoners, with strict punishments for any infraction. Solitary confinement was a common practice, often breaking the spirits of inmates. Over the years, it became infamous for its violent deaths, including murders and suicides within its walls. Old Geelong Gaol is widely regarded as one of the most haunted locations in Victoria. Visitors and staff have experienced unexplained phenomena, such as the sound of footsteps, whispers, and cell doors slamming shut on their own. One of the most notorious ghosts is that of James Murphy, a prisoner who was murdered by other inmates. His spirit is said to linger in the cell where he died, with visitors reporting an oppressive feeling when entering the room. Some have even claimed to see his ghostly figure staring at them through the bars. The basement area, once used for solitary confinement, is another hotspot for paranormal activity. Cold spots, strange noises, and disembodied voices have been reported. One visitor claimed to hear the sound of chains dragging, followed by a ghostly figure emerging from the shadows. A particularly eerie encounter involves the spirit of a former guard, who is said to still patrol the hallways. Witnesses have described seeing a man in an old uniform walking the corridors, only to disappear when approached. Paranormal investigators have captured EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, of voices calling out names and crying for help. 5. Pentridge Prison, Victoria. Pentridge Prison, located in Coburg, Victoria, was established in 1851 and served as one of Australia's largest and most notorious prisons. It housed many of the country's most dangerous criminals, including bushranger Ned Kelly and gangster Squizzy Taylor. Known for its brutal punishments, the prison was infamous for its solitary confinement cells and strict regulations. Executions were carried out at Pentridge until 1951, with prisoners buried on-site in unmarked graves. Over time, the prison became overcrowded, leading to harsh living conditions. Pentridge officially closed its doors in 1997 and has since been partially redeveloped, but its grim history lingers. Pentridge Prison is notorious for its ghostly activity, with many visitors and staff reporting eerie experiences. The site where executions were carried out, known as D Division, is particularly active. Cold spots and sudden chills are common, and some claim to hear the cries of former inmates echoing in the halls. The ghost of Ronald Ryan, the last man to be executed in Australia in 1967, is believed to haunt the prison. Visitors have reported feeling an overwhelming sense of sadness in the area where he was hanged, and some claim to have seen his shadowy figure near the gallows. A strange fog resembling a woman's silhouette has also been reported near the prison grounds. Some believe this could be the spirit of a prisoner's wife who visited regularly before her untimely death. One chilling account involves a group of paranormal investigators who visited the prison at night. They reported hearing chains rattling, objects moving on their own, and an unexplained voice warning them to leave. 4. Adelaide Gaol, South Australia. Adelaide Gaol, one of the oldest public buildings in South Australia, operated from 1841 to 1988. It housed some of the state's most notorious criminals, including murderers, thieves, and other convicts. During its 147 years of operation, it witnessed 45 executions by hanging, with many of the executed buried within its grounds. Known for its harsh conditions, prisoners faced severe punishment in solitary confinement. The jail was notorious for the poor treatment of inmates, who lived in overcrowded, filthy conditions. After its closure, the jail became a museum and one of Adelaide's most popular tourist attractions. Adelaide Gaol has earned a reputation as one of Australia's most haunted locations. Staff and visitors have reported eerie occurrences, such as footsteps echoing in empty corridors and the sudden feeling of being watched. Paranormal investigators have documented cold spots, unexplained noises, and even disembodied voices during their visits. One of the most infamous ghosts is that of Frederick Carr, who was executed in 1927 for murdering his wife. His ghost has been sighted wandering near the execution site. Visitors have also reported seeing shadowy figures in the cells and hearing cries from the women's quarters. A particularly chilling story involves a former warden who is believed to still haunt the site. Witnesses have claimed to see his figure patrolling the grounds, as if still overseeing the prisoners. Paranormal tours conducted at the jail often lead to mysterious encounters, with participants reporting sudden cold breezes, whispering voices, and even faint touches. 3. Port Arthur Historic Site, Tasmania. Port Arthur was established as a penal settlement in 1830 and quickly became one of Australia's most brutal convict sites. It was reserved for Britain's most hardened criminals, who were subjected to severe punishment, hard labor, and isolation. The separate prison system, where inmates were confined in complete silence and darkness, took a heavy toll on prisoners' mental health, with many losing their sanity. The site also saw several tragic events, including a fire in 1895 that destroyed much of the settlement and the infamous Port Arthur massacre in 1996, where 35 people were killed. Port Arthur is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but its dark past continues to echo through reports of ghostly encounters. One of the most famous ghosts is Reverend George Eastman, who is often seen wandering the parsonage. Visitors have reported seeing his ghostly figure staring out of windows and hearing footsteps on wooden floors. The separate prison is also a hotspot for paranormal activity. Tourists have felt sudden chills, heard whispers, and even seen shadowy figures moving through the corridors. One woman reported being pushed by an unseen force during a nighttime ghost tour. The Commandant's house is another area with frequent reports of hauntings. The ghost of a young girl, believed to be the daughter of a former commandant, has been sighted playing near the staircase. Guests have also heard her laughter echoing through the halls. A particularly chilling story involves the Isle of the Dead, where convicts were buried. Many visitors to the island report seeing ghostly figures walking among the graves or hearing muffled cries. 2. Fremantle Prison, Western Australia. Fremantle Prison, also known as the Convict Establishment, was constructed in 1855 by convicts sent to Australia from Britain. The prison housed both colonial and Aboriginal prisoners. Known for its brutal conditions, the prison operated until 1991. During its years of operation, it witnessed numerous executions by hanging, 44 to be exact. The gallows room, still preserved, holds a chilling history of the many lives taken there. The prison was notorious for its harsh punishments. Solitary confinement cells were particularly dreadful, where inmates were kept in complete darkness for extended periods. Several inmates also attempted to escape, leading to tragic and violent outcomes. Since its closure, Fremantle Prison has gained a reputation as one of the most haunted sites in Australia. The gallows are considered the most haunted area. Visitors have reported feelings of unease and a strange choking sensation while in the room. Some claim to have heard whispers and footsteps despite no one being around. The ghost of a man named Jack, who was executed on the gallows, is said to appear in the area. Paranormal investigators have also recorded cold spots, disembodied voices, and mysterious shadows. One of the most famous incidents involves the ghost of a prison guard who reportedly patrols the grounds. Visitors and staff have seen his figure walking the halls, only to vanish when approached. There are also tales of poltergeist activity in the solitary cells, where objects have been moved or thrown without explanation. 1. Old Melbourne Gaol, Victoria. Old Melbourne Gaol, built in 1841, is one of Australia's most infamous historical landmarks. It was designed as a maximum security prison to house some of the country's most dangerous criminals. Over its years of operation, the jail witnessed the execution of 133 prisoners, including men and women, many of whom were notorious for violent crimes. One of its most famous inmates was bushranger Ned Kelly, who was executed there in 1880. The prison was known for its harsh living conditions, with prisoners crammed into small cells, and its strict disciplinary measures. The jail closed in 1924 and was repurposed several times, including being used as a World War II air raid shelter, before becoming a museum. After its closure, the Old Melbourne Gaol developed a reputation for being haunted. Numerous visitors and staff have reported strange phenomena. The most famous ghost associated with the jail is that of Ned Kelly himself. Tour guides and visitors have claimed to hear footsteps echoing in empty corridors, doors slamming shut on their own, and the sensation of being watched. Cell 17 is notoriously known as the most haunted part of the jail. Many believe the spirit of Frederick Bailey Deeming, a murderer executed in 1892, lingers in this cell. Visitors have reported feeling an overwhelming sense of dread and even nausea when standing in the cell. A ghostly figure of a woman dressed in 19th-century clothing has been sighted wandering the halls. It is believed she may be the spirit of Elizabeth Scott, the first woman to be hanged in Victoria. Paranormal investigators have also recorded unexplained voices and temperature drops during their visits to the jail.